Wow. We got something. We're in. It thinks I'm Falcon. Hello.
Shall we play a game?
Oh.
I think I missed him.
Yeah, weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
Love to. How about global thermonuclear war?
Blood-curdling, spine-chilling, heart-racing fear. You are now listening to Dark Waters, the king of horror.
I grew up in a small town, Sylvan Grove, Kansas. Population, no more than 350 people in the 1990s. And when I say this town was small, I mean small. Everybody was in everybody's business. Now, Halloween was a special time around Sylvan Grove. You see, we always had the pre-Halloween celebration. And the biggest part of that celebration was this clown show. The clown? Mr. Reeves. Now, Mr. Reeves is what I would call the original creepy clown. And I still remember to this day the rumors that swirled around about him. People said he was a pedophile. Some people said he was a murderer. But it was awfully odd and strange that Mr. Reeves only could get a gig working as a clown during Halloween. And I still remember how freaky and weird his performance was. His voice, the balloons, and the weird ending with him stabbing watermelon.
Ladies and gentlemen, we present before you tonight an entertainment extravaganza.
Now, like I was saying earlier, the day after the Halloween performance is actually Halloween. And I'll never forget it. Me and my best friend Eddie were so excited about headed out and going to get us some candy. Our plan was to hit 2 houses. They were absolutely mandatory. The first was Mrs. Hughes. She always gave out these candy cigarettes and Fun Dip. And the next one was Mama D. Mama D would give you ring pops, bags full of ring pops. Everything else in between was completely inconsequential. The problem was Mama D was on one side of the town and Miss Hughes was on the other. So we had to track all the way across town. We decided to start with Miss Hughes' house first. We headed out on our bicycles and rode over there. One thing you gotta understand about my town is the houses sit off the street. You had to ride up these long dirt driveways in order to get to the actual house. I'm talking about 75 yards off the street. When you got there, you got your candy and headed back out. So we hit Miss Hughes' house, the mother lode. And I need you to realize, since it wasn't a whole bunch of kids in this town, the candy was separated between about 25 of us. So when we went home stacked. We hit Miss Hughes' house, get our candy. And Eddie and I decided to skip the houses in between and go straight to Mama D's. And that's when stuff starts to go wrong. I'd say we're about 3/4 of the way to Mama D's house. And we get to this section where we have to ride along this dirt road. From there you turn left onto this paved road, and then it's about a 5-minute ride to her front door. So we're riding along this dirt road, and Eddie starts to freak out. Hey man, do you see that guy up there? There's somebody standing in the roadway. Look, somebody's standing in the roadway. And I've always had to wear glasses. And I'm not talking about regular glasses. I'm talking about bifocal glasses. And in that dim light, I really couldn't see what he was talking about. But Eddie is freaking out. Somebody's standing in the road. Somebody's standing in the road. He literally stops his bike. I keep riding forward. Eddie, come on, man. Stop playing. Let's go. As I get closer and closer, my vision starts to be able to kick in and focus a little bit. And there's someone standing in the middle of the roadway, dressed as a clown. But this clown has horns on top of his head. And that's when it hit me. The only person that ever dressed up like a clown that included horns was Mr. Reeves. I come to a screeching halt on my bike, put both feet on the ground, and stand up, lifting my butt off the seat. And now I'm staring at him. Come here, kid. Come here. Come over here, kid. Come here. You know how your instincts tell you just shouldn't do something? Well, my instincts were screaming at me. Oh no, we're not going down there by him. Never. And in that moment, Eddie pedals his bike up right next to me. Come on, man, we need to go. We're going the other way. We need to turn around. Now, this clown, which I'm pretty sure was Mr. Reeves, was about 45 yards away from me at this point in time. And then he takes off running towards me. And I know as a kid, you kind of panic and freak out and your mind sees things. But I swear to you, it looked like he had a big silver butcher knife in his hand. Now, could it have been a knife? Could it have been a bag of candy? I was so freaking afraid, I can't tell you. But in my childhood mind, that was a butcher knife. Man, when I tell you, we turn around and start pedaling on those bikes as fast as we can. And when I look over my shoulder, he's gaining ground on me. That's when I realized it really was a knife. Man, we pedal as fast as we can. Make a quick left turn back onto the paved roadway and then speed as fast as we can all the way home. When we got to my house, Eddie and I told my dad exactly what we saw. But he didn't believe me. He figured that we were just panicking because we were out after dark. But I promise you, that was Mr. Reeves. And he was the original creepy clown as far as I'm concerned.
This happened when I was 12 years old, an age old enough to be aware of my surroundings and have a pretty good sense of danger, but also still around that age that attracts a certain selection of creeps. We live in a decently busy neighborhood. However, we're on a dead-end block near a forest preserve, and across the street from us is a sump, and if you were to go through the forest preserve, you would find yourself in a small community park. There was this one Saturday night that a mini carnival was being held in the park, and since I wasn't doing anything with friends, my mom suggested that I go check out the carnival. She isn't the kind of mom who tells her kids not to go out past dark. She always let me do my own thing. So I did end up going. I crossed through the forest with a flashlight and eventually passed the fence that led to the park and saw lit up carnival rides everywhere. A Ferris wheel, a mini roller coaster, some of those big spinning rides, and of course concession stands and carnival game booths. It was late enough where it wasn't very crowded. There was also a big circus tent with the red and white stripes where I saw some people entering. I poked my head inside, where I saw 4 rows of people in the audience, and on this mini stage were 3 clowns performing tricks. One was on a tricycle, one was juggling, and the other was just dancing around. Then the dancing one noticed me poking my head inside the tent, and he skipped over closer to me and started waving his index finger, signaling for me to come closer, or to come onto the stage. I didn't really know. All I knew is I didn't want to do either, and so I walked away. I ran into a friend at one of the carnival games, and I hung out with him for about half an hour. Pretty soon the carnival was closing down, and everybody was starting to leave. I said goodbye to my friends and made my way towards the woods again. I was near the fence when I heard, "Psst." It came from behind me. It was one of the clowns. The clown that was waving me over earlier. He asked me if I wanted to check out the backstage area of the circus tent and some of the cool things the guests cannot see. I said no very quickly and walked into the forest, looking back every few seconds to make sure I wasn't being followed. And I wasn't. The clown just stood there watching me, with the painted-on smile on his face making the situation even more disturbing. When I was out of view, I began to run for a bit before I was confident he wouldn't be able to find me. I was not going to tell my mom what happened because I loved being allowed out whenever I wanted, and I feared that this might ruin that. It's a half-mile walk through the woods. I was probably 3/4 of the way there when I heard it again. Psst. This time, I immediately felt sick when I heard it. I turned and saw the same clown walking out from the darkness of the woods into the light of my flashlight. When he was close enough, I threw the flashlight at him and ran for it in the direction of my house. I heard him close behind me until the road was visible. Then I heard him turn around. When I got home, I was breathing like I had just run a marathon, and my mom was of course concerned. I still didn't want to tell her what happened, so I lied and said I jogged the whole way back. After that, it never came up again.